I know we're only 3 episodes into Dragon Ball Daima, so maybe it's a little too early to say for sure. But I think given that this almost feels like a long forgotten art form, Dragon Ball Daima is already like a masterpiece in terms of adventure. Because pure adventure anime are hard to come by, especially because I know Dragon Ball has had many different styles over the years in different series. The original Dragon Ball being much more an adventure, Dragon Ball Z a lot more on the fight side. There's a different wide opinion of what Dragon Ball is and shouldn't be. But something I have noticed a lot is that a lot of people were excited for Daima because it gave them more of the old school feel, maybe rather than what the series evolved to over time. The thing is that I would honestly argue this episode of Dragon Ball, especially when you look at the action of this episode, which there was a little bit. I mean, we had a full-on bar fight, and we also we got a little jumped when we got into to the demon world. But I would argue that that fight in the bar, while Goku's eating his hamburgers and we're having a drink, had more in common with like a cowboy bebop fight than it did with a battle shonen fight. And that's really exciting to me, because this is a world that immediately I want to explore. And I'm way more interested on the exploration and the adventure side than I am on who Goku's going to beat up right now. And I really am very excited, and maybe it's just because I'm newer to the series, maybe it's recency bias, it could be a lot of things. But given the almost Dragon Ball meets Dragon Quest adventuring vibes with such a fun hook, Goku, Shin, and Glorio are about to go on one fun-ass adventure, and all I'm saying is when in Rome, do what the Romans do. If they're gonna steal our ship, why don't we steal someone else's ship? That's just me. You know, I have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full and good thoughts on any of these Dragon Ball episodes. It's going to be over there exclusively. I'm loving this. So far, every episode has been more enjoyable for me. Episode 1 did what it needed to. Episode 2 really got the adventure going. 3, we are properly introduced. And there's so many little moments that I think are those small attention to detail. And you can definitely tell that Toriyama was, you know, a mind of the older generation. Someone similar to an Oda and stuff in terms of how they write their series in detail. Because often when you compare a lot of the modern, I think, shonen authors, even though I'm not saying they don't still have those smaller details, it's a lot different. Like just the fact that immediately coming into a new world, the fact that Toriyama wrote it as, oh yeah, the atmosphere's different. I mean, I'm not saying he's the first one to do it, but I honestly feel like if you were to take maybe like 10 of the most popular mangakas who write battle shonens in today's age, those details aren't always going to pop up, or at least in this way, and that's why it kind of helps with that old school charm, because immediately Goku's already in the situation where he's in a smaller body, so his proportions and his fighting style, you know, he's doing better than he did initially when he transformed, but still, it's kind of a fish out of water experience. Add in the fact that the atmosphere is way more heavy because of the air, because they have like these volcanoes that erupt with the gas. It's very cool. Those little details go a long way, and immediately, like even to get into the demon world, like this is so cool. The fact that there's basically, I mean, you don't want to say it in front of it, you don't want to call Warp Sama a goldfish, but at the end of the day, it's a giant talking goldfish. Not only do you have to not piss it off, you have to have the code, and it's just like, you gotta have pointy ears, you have to have the code, you can't talk too much shit, and if all of that goes according to plan, maybe it allows you to warp and you have to throw up your lunch as you make your way to one of the 3 entrances. Just such a cool detail, and it immediately just got me excited. I'm like, god damn, this world and universe, I just want to explore every nook and cranny. The best way to put it, I feel like I'm trying to pick a planet and where to explore next in a video game, right? It's just like, it's so cool. Glorio's an interesting character because, from what we understand, he does want to overthrow King Goma. But at the same time, there's a lot of mystery about why and what maybe will happen if we do that. So, you know, there is some skepticism, and I think even Shin himself is a little skeptical on, you know, what he's keeping a secret. The thing I do like is just, I think you need that kind of hardened badass. I mean, look at the scene when we're getting the room. The dude's like, oh yeah, 30,000 a room. Pulls him through the goddamn bars and flexes his gun, and we go down to 5,000 a room. Like, this dude gives no shits, and I'm loving him. And just the cast dynamic we have right now, of course we know others are eventually going to come, or at least based on, you know, what we agreed upon. Though a good question got raised, they don't know the passcode. Don't worry about it, they'll just figure it out. It's like, Goku, you monkey brain. Goddamn. But it's the fact that we have Goku, who just is kind of that bundle of joy right now. Like, the fact that in the middle of the whole brawl, like, he still was eating his hamburgers. Shin is kind of, I think, the more logical, cool, calm, and collected, where Glorio is kind of the hardened, badass mentor character who takes no shit. And I think it's a very fun cast dynamic that we have going on. And when you look at the brawl that we had, I mean, Goku doesn't have pointy ears, so they're immediately just not happy with that. Probably don't like outsiders to begin with. And the fact that the way the whole thing happens, I mean, we lose one drink because we blind the fool. He doesn't even grab him by the full arm. He grabs him by a finger and, like, almost dislocates his shoulder. Just badass. And then Goku's out here. I figured what was going to happen was, like, he was, like, this is the way I'm thinking, because I would normally see it with authors. His food would get stomped on, he would get angry, and then beat him up. No, instead, he's just like, God damn it. Then he keeps eating, and then he keeps beating him up. And it's just like the fact that this whole situation, it's not even an inconvenience. What it is, oh, this is actually really nice. I'm getting much more used to my body now because I'm able to fight a bunch of buffoons. Probably the weight of the atmosphere, too, in terms of the air being a lot more dense. That's helping me, too. Can I have another hamburger? Just like, that was fantastic. And that's what I mean. Like, this had way more in common with something like a Cowboy Bebop fight, where it's very simple, very precise, more martial arts based, rather than throw a giant energy ball. Let's, you know, it very much reminded me of that type of dynamic rather than what a normal battle shonen fight would look like. And honestly, I don't know the direction completely that Daima's going to go, because there's a few different ways Dragon Ball can go narratively. I mean, look at the difference between the original and Z, right? So it will be very interesting to see what they do, but given that it does feel like Toriyama wrote this very specifically to be a very unique and fresh take on the story, I do think that Toei is going to give it the love and attention it deserves. Because while I don't expect it to run a ridiculous length, I imagine it's going to be a 2-core, give or take, and I think One Piece is going on a break for a little bit, so there should be enough time and attention and resources to pour into this. And so far with what I'm seeing, like, in episode 2, when the staff, like, that initial, like, hey, I got my staff back, that animation didn't need to go as hard as they did. Then look at the animation for Goku's brawl fight, like, it was just so freaking well done. Dragon Ball is awesome, and to me, it just feels already like a masterpiece of adventure. And unless they completely crash and burn and nosedive, which I doubt is going to happen, I'm pretty sure I'm going to stay firm on that opinion. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode. I definitely think it's getting better with each passing episode, but let me know how you're feeling. I personally love the visuals of the Demon Realm and everything. It's just looking beautiful, but, you know, thoughts down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're around here, of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Nanodog, Durhosh, Franklin Greenway, and we also have Hikari Lounge. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and don't be like Goku. Don't fart in the car. It's rude. Have a good one.